Herbivores will be eaten by the carnivorous animals, the carnivores by the omnivores. So when all these die, they add up to the nutrient content in the soil. Grazing land is also one of the ecosystem services that renders economic value. Even if honeybees are not there, it is said that the human beings can be completely abolished from this planet. Hello everyone, a warm welcome to today's session on Environmental Studies for second semester B.Ca. I am Dr. Divya, Environmental Studies faculty, Vidhyaashram First Grade College, Temple of Excellence, Mysuru. So in today's session, let us continue with studying Unit 4, that is Biodiversity and Conservation. This is the last session of this unit wherein we will study regarding the topic Ecosystem and Biodiversity Services. So, we human beings have been utilizing the ecosystem for various reasons, right? And because of these services that are provided by the ecosystem, we are exploiting the ecosystem on a larger extent. So, let us see how we can prevent exploitation of ecosystem and why ecosystem is very important in a human life. Why? Because they provide various services to the people living in it. So, we will study about ecosystem and biodiversity services. So, ecosystem services can be of ecological, economic, social, ethical, aesthetic as well as informational value. So, all these one by one we shall study in under these headings. So, talking about how ecological services are in terms of ecological value. So, talking about ecological value, ecosystem actually purifies or ecological services helps in the purification of the ecosystem. So, we all know that because of pollution, a lot of greenhouse gases as well as especially the carbon dioxide is being released to the atmosphere. But in the ecosystem, there are the green plants that are there which make use of this carbon dioxide and gives or liberates out oxygen which is used by human beings and animals for breathing or respiration purposes, right? So, that is how they purify the ecosystem. So, plants are one of the green plants are one of the ecosystem services or which are of great ecological value because they help in purification of the ecosystem. Next is they help in detoxification of the ecosystem. So, there are some plants which are capable of purifying the soil, purifying the environment of pollution and all that. So, that is how they help in detoxification process wherein they will take in the toxic materials that are there in the environment which are useful for them, and in turn they detoxify that and give it back to the environment so that the people's health remain composed. So, that is one of the main ecological value, that is detoxification of the ecosystem. Next is preventing soil erosion. So, plants especially, one of the best ecological services rendered by the ecosystem are the plants, the trees, etc. And plants and trees, they prevent soil erosion. How do they exactly prevent soil erosion? So, imagine there is a forest which is having quite an amount of fertile soil. So, those forests which consists of larger trees, they have well developed root system. So, roots always try to hold the soil firmly. So, whenever there is a heavy downpour or a heavy rainfall, so what happens during that time is the water will not gush out and it will not wash away the upper layer of the soil that is there, therefore preventing soil erosion. But imagine if that trees are completely cut down from that forest or completely uprooted from that forest, it will loosen the soil because the roots would have been removed from the soil. Therefore, any downpour or even a small flow of water will cause soil erosion. So, that is how plants help in preventing soil erosion. Not just that, there are certain grasses which are grown on the slopes and all that to prevent soil erosion. So, therefore, these grasses, the green plants, the trees are all the ecological or ecosystem services that render ecological values wherein they prevent the erosion of the soil or washing out of the soil or washing off the soil. Next is they help in nutrient cycling. So nutrient cycling, we have studied this in the unit 1 of this particular environmental studies syllabus, right, wherein we understood that nutrient cycling actually starts from the plant, wherein the energy is derived from, the plants derive energy from the sunlight, wherein it will absorb the light energy from the sun, and along with the making use of carbon dioxide and water, it will convert the sun's energy into glucose, and that glucose will be stored in the plant. And now when these plants wither and they die, the amount of energy goes into the soil. And not just that, when they are eaten by the herbivorous animals, the energy is, the herbivorous animals derives those energy from the green plants. So that is how the nutrient cycling continues. Now the herbivores will be eaten by the carnivorous animals, the carnivores by the omnivorous. So when all these die, they add up to the nutrient content in the soil, right, because of the decomposition process by the bacteria, the breaking down of by the detritus, that is the earthworm and all that. So therefore, if proper nutrient cycling is there, then the ecosystem will be a well balanced ecosystem, and not just that, it will enrich the fertility of the soil, and if the fertility of the soil is enriched, in turn it is good for the people, because that land will be suitable for good quality agriculture, right. So that is how the nutrient cycling is one of the ecological value, wherein it is an ecological service that is rendered by the ecosystem. Next is they help in soil formation. So the weathering of rocks. So rocks are a component of the ecosystem. The green plants are the components of the ecosystem. So the weathering of the rock, the death and decaying of the organic matter from plants, animals, etc. All these add on to the formation of the soil. So we have learnt about this in the previous sessions as well of one of the chapters, right, like how soil formation occurs. We had learnt about it. So that is how the soil formation. So say for example, there is a bare rock. So on that rock, because of weathering of the rock, because of the soil particles carried by the wind, because of all that, what happens, soil will start to get deposited on the rock, and any plant material such as seed or all seed comes and falls on that bare rock, wherein a small patch of soil has been formed. It will develop into a plant, it will germinate into a plant. Later on, the number of the plant population will increase. Finally, eventually, one that was a bare rock would have got converted into a forest. Ecological succession, we have studied about that. So that is how in soil formation is one of the ecological values that is rendered by the ecosystem services. So next, talking about the economic value. So economic value, when I say economic value, means it is something that improves the economy of a country or the economy of a person, right. So here, which brings money. So here, economic values, under that agricultural commodities. So a lot of seeds. So from where did we get these agricultural seeds? So nowadays we have a variety of hybrid crops and all that, right. From where did we get it? Did we get it all of a sudden? No, we had to depend on the ecosystem for that, wherein we used the seeds from the wild plants that were there. It was plant breeding experiments were conducted, and they were made into a hybrid variety. So that hybrid variety is fetching a lot of income to the people. How? Because hybrid varieties are disease resistant, they are capable of giving high yield, therefore increasing the economy of the farmer. Now, when they are disease resistant, the farmers will not have to use any chemical pesticides or herbicides or whatever to the crop, right. So that is how they actually, by spending less on the agricultural land, the farmer can reap more benefits. So therefore, agricultural commodities is one of the best example for the economic value that is rendered by the ecosystem services. Next is timber and minerals. So timber. So timber industries are very, very important, and it is one of the fast growing industries. Why? Because timbers are usually used in the manufacturing of furnitures. Of course, a lot of synthetic materials have come up nowadays for furniture manufacture, but still people mostly depend on the timber for furniture manufacturing, and not just that, for various other purposes also. and also economic value minerals. So, minerals are got from the earth's crust, and therefore it is a ecosystem services because we are getting it from nature. Nobody is putting it there, but it has been thousands of years. These minerals have formed by the nature itself, and we human beings are making use of it. Therefore, the mineral extraction also increases the economy of the country, and also it improves the economy of the people as well. Next is talking about wetlands. So, wetlands are nothing but they are the marshes wherein always it is somewhat semi-waterlogged condition. So, these wetlands, they provide recreational amenities, because wherever there is wetlands, usually parks and all that recreational centers will be set up. So, that is why. So, in a country, more number of recreational amenities or more number of recreational facilities, it will improve the tourism of that particular country, and improvement in the tourism will fetch finances to that particular country as well. So, therefore, recreational amenities. Next, it provides valuable materials for making utensils, because in wetlands usually a lot of plants, that is fiber related plants, grow, which can be used making lot of natural utensils, mats, trays, baskets, and also in paper manufacturing, like some of the grasses, some of the bamboo species and all, they are used for making traditional goods. So, next is for grazing land for livestock. So, there are large meadows which are filled with grasses. Therefore, these meadows, they actually provide a grazing land for the livestock. So, when I say livestock, it means the cattle, sheep and all that. So, therefore, for the dairy farmers, it is very, very economical. Otherwise, the dairy farmers should buy feed, extra feed and all that. But now they can buy little quantity of feed, and they can leave their animals on the grazing lands to graze on the natural grasses, therefore improving the quality of the milk. And if the quality and production of milk increases, it will increase the economy of that particular farmer, and in turn, or that particular person who is dealing with the livestock, and in turn it will increase the economy of the country as well. Therefore, grazing land is also one of the ecosystem services that renders economic value. Next is coral reefs. So, coral reefs are usually found in islands. So, here coral reefs, they are the sites for tourism, because people usually, wherever there is coral reefs, a large number of different aquatic animals tend to live there. So, and that coral world is actually quite fascinating, and it attracts a lot of tourists, especially for scuba diving and all that. So, that is why coral reefs are sites for tourism. Therefore, when it becomes a site for tourism, gradually what happens? The economy of the country also increases. Next, it facilitates fishing, pearl culture and also some other recreational activities as well. So, therefore, coral reefs are the ecosystem services which improves the economic value of a country. Next is Ayurveda and pharmaceutical industries. So, Ayurveda and pharmaceutical industries. When talking about, now you can ask me, pharmaceutical industries, how come do they help? Because in pharmaceutical industries only chemicals are used, but from where did that chemicals come? It's obviously from the plant itself, but only thing is it is manufactured in the lab in a synthetic form. So, talking about Ayurvedic, so a lot of medicinal plants, not just a lot of, whatever plant you see will have one or the other medicinal property in it. So, therefore, these plants actually are used in Ayurveda, and therefore, it improves the quality of the life of the people, and if the quality of life of the people will improve, then the finance of the country will also improve gradually. So, therefore, these plants which are used in Ayurveda, they are of great economic value to the country. Next is in pharmaceutical industry. So, based on the compounds that are derived from Ayurveda itself, these pharmaceutical industries, they develop synthetic forms of chemicals. So, that is why both pharmaceutical and Ayurvedic industries, they improve the economic value of the country, wherein green plants are used, which is a ecosystem service to improve the economic value. So next, talking about the social value. So social value, how it improves the life of a society or a people living in a society. So ecosystem services actually provides therapeutic benefits such as medicines, clean abiotic factors. So what do you mean by abiotic? I told you in the previous sessions, one that doesn't have life, right? So some of the clean abiotic factors, then recreational and outdoor space. So there is a society wherein there is no recreational space at all. You all know that once there is a weekend, the whole week you would have struggled sitting in front of the computer doing your job and you would be exhausted. And when there is a weekend, you just want to run off somewhere where people are not there. You want to be amidst the nature, right? So where will you go? Can you create a nature artificially? No, you prefer going to places which are luscious green, right? That is how ecosystem services are of great social value to the people. You go there, you relax yourself on that particular day, you come back very enthusiastic, you work the whole week again, and that goes on repeating. So that is how it provides a lot of therapeutic benefits in the form of medicine, because medicine means I'm not talking about the medicine that you take in, but medicine means the clean fresh air that you take when you go into a luscious green environment. That itself is a medicine which has great therapeutic healing powers of the brain, which makes your mind calm and all that. So also it provides various recreational activities. So in cities and all, they have parks which are very green, right? So that one walk you go in the evening, whatever stress you had the whole day, that will just vanish off. So therefore it is of great social value. And next, even outdoor spaces as well. And also it improves the economic opportunities in tourism. So there is a small park in which is very famous in a particular city. Obviously, people when they come to visit that city, they would like to go and see it. Therefore, it will improve the tourism of that particular city as well, because people usually likes to visit places which are quite green. So that is why. And also it provides space for society for cognitive development, for mental relaxation, for artistic inspiration, aesthetic enjoyment and recreational benefits. So here a lot of parks have been set up, a lot of centers have been set up which contains lots of green trees wherein you can go, you can sit, you can meditate, you can have your own time. So therefore it brings out a relaxing calmness, or it brings out a mental relaxation in your busy schedule. Therefore you'll be in peace. So therefore if you are in peace, if you're stress free, obviously it will show on your health, right? Your health will improve, all that. So that is how these ecosystem services that are there, they're actually of great social value. Next is they engage the society in protecting the ecosystem and biodiversity through donations. Now here there is a small park. You have there is a society wherein in that society everywhere there is no plants there, but one end there is a green park. So people every day they go to that green park, and whenever there is something wrong that is going to happen in that green park, say for example somebody wants to just abolish that green park and build something else there, the whole society will come up together, they'll form a group and they will start fighting against that, right? Not just that, even you might have seen in many of the metropolitan cities and all, one tree if somebody is trying to cut for road construction, then these environmentalists, people who are interested in saving the environment, they just form groups and they start protesting against that, right? So why do you think such love towards nature has developed? Because they know what happens if they don't have a good park, what happens if they don't have greenery. They have already witnessed that, so they don't want that to be put in that same situation again. So that is how they start forming groups, they start having some non-governmental organizations, some environmental related groups wherein they'll start collecting donations and all that in order to create a park, in order to safeguard that park, in order to grow trees wherever there is a wasteland. So all that voluntary work people will start to develop. So when they are engaged in such voluntary work, it will also keep their lifestyle going in a good way, and therefore it will increase the social value of the society as well. That is how these ecosystem services are of great social value as well. Next is ethical value. So ecosystem services inculcate some ethical value in the people. Every human being should have an ethical value. He should have some soft corner towards the other person who is there living with him, or any citizen in that particular country, right? You have to live and you have to let live. Always you should have that particular politeness, that kindness to help, not to a greater extent, but at least you should not be quite harsh, right? You have to be polite. You have to learn to know the feelings of other people. You have to learn to know the situations the other people might be having in their life and all that. So all that are the ethical value which we develop as we grow up, as we mature enough, right? So these ethical values actually we learn from the environment as well. See how in an environment each of the organism lives with harmony, supporting one another, right? The plants are not harmed by the animals are not in turn harmed by the plants, each one are living in harmony. So that is how so looking at that, even we people also should learn to live in harmony, helping the poor, helping the needy, helping the ones who are helpless and all that. So all that ethical values will be rendered into the people by the ecosystem services. So it helps in protecting and conserving all life forms of this planet. By looking at the environment and thinking that what might happen if we don't have trees, what might happen if we don't have birds, like how good it is to wake up in the morning and to hear the birds chirping, right? More than any kind of your classic, be it a classical music or a rock music or whatever kind of music you listen to, nothing matters or nothing is of great importance when it comes to a bird singing. That is the song of the nature, right? So that is how when you go for a walk, you hear a bird singing, it will calm your mind automatically without even you knowing about it, right? So all these are the services that are rendered by the ecosystem. So we have to make use of it. So next time you'll think, okay, I need to protect the nature because the bird's music is giving me peace, it is making me calm, it is relaxing me, therefore my health is improving. So that is how ecosystem tries to inculcate ethical values in the people. Therefore, they make the people understand that it is very, very important to protect and conserve all forms of life on this earth, and also these ethical values, ecosystem services renders ethical values in the human being, wherein they make people or they teach people that live and let live. Even you live and let others also live in harmony on this planet. And also it will discourage smuggling of animals. Will the whole world, the people living in the whole world participate in smuggling? No, all of us do not participate. Why don't we participate? Because education is one of the things that helps in that, right? Because we are taking education about environmental studies. So that is why the government has put this environmental studies as a subject, because you get educated about environmental studies, you'll know the value of environment, you'll know the value of nature, and you'll try to protect it, because if nature is not there, we human beings are not there. Just a simple thing, even if honeybees are not there, it is said that the human beings can be completely abolished from this planet. They say like that. So that is how each and every organism that is there in this planet is very, very important. So therefore, along with we living in the planet, we should also let the other creatures live in this planet as well. And when we inculcate such ethical values, so do we hate others? Do we make fun of others, or do we do something bad to others? There are people who do that, but not all, right? Why is that? Because we have some ethical values in us which have been taught by our parents, which the society has taught us through as during the course of life, wherein it has taught us that you need to respect others, you need to be kind towards others, right? So therefore, when you're kind towards the nature, when you respect nature, obviously people will stop smuggling. That is, smuggling of animals will completely stop. Then people will start to value the biodiversity more and all that, right? So that is how. So also biopiracy will stop, illicit trade of animals and plants will stop. So all these are the ethical values, because ethical values are very, very important in a human's life, because that is the one which will make you a good citizen of a country, and also it will make you a good human being on the whole. So that is why ecosystem services is of great ethical value as well. Next, talking about aesthetic value, that is the religious values. So aesthetic values are one of the non-materialistic benefits that link people with their environment. So non-materialistic means, aesthetic means, say for example, you worship a particular area, like we have the sacred groves. So sacred groves are regions where people actually, they build a small temple in a patch of land, and that land is filled with greenery and forest. And because they have built a small temple, what happens is they'll never go to cut trees there, they'll never try to kill any animal there, they'll never try to disturb that particular space. So that is how, without thinking of, there might be, even if there is a sandalwood tree there also, people will not go to cut it. Why? Because that space is meant only for religious purpose, and we should not depend on materialistic things on that particular place. So aesthetic services are one of the non-materialistic benefits that link people with their environment. So that is how. Any tree, you have a tree that is, say for example, even if rosewood is there also, teak wood is there also, smugglers will also not go to smuggle that tree or cut that tree because of the aesthetic value in them. We are all God fearing. Of course, we need to be, whether you believe in God or not, but we need to have some fear, because that fear will actually inculcate good behavior in us. So that is the reason. Even the tree smugglers also might think once or twice before they try to go and cut the trees in that particular patch of land, because they'll think that, okay, this land is of religious value, there is a deity residing there or a god there, I should not disturb that particular place, because they'll have that fear in them that something bad might happen to them in the future. So that is how. So it inculcates, or it improves the aesthetic value in a community. So that is how aesthetic services are one of the good ecosystem services. And it also provides opportunities for recreational activities such as hiking. So hiking, canoeing, bird watching, river rafting, rock climbing, trekking, parasailing, bird watching and nature photography also, because while doing all these are all of aesthetic value, because when you're rock climbing, will you take some equipment and will you break the rocks there? No, your work is to go and rock climb, enjoy yourself, you'll do that, you'll come back, because that area is meant for rock climbing. Likewise, bird watching, when that area is for bird watching, will you go and will you carry a gun or an air gun or something and try shooting beautiful birds there? No. Why? Because of the aesthetic value of that particular place. That place is meant for bird watching, that place is meant for nature photography. So like that. So these are the regions which remains undisturbed, because they are not of materialistic use to the people, or people don't want to depend on the materials of that particular region, and they just want to use it for their own recreational purposes. That's it. So these are the aesthetic services which are of great, or ecosystem services that are of great aesthetic value. So this is about aesthetic value. Or I can say that, for example, you might have noticed in cities and all that, you don't want a tree to be cut. What you can do is just put a small idol there. After 2 or 3 days, people themselves will start worshipping there, and they will start protecting that tree. That is because it has aesthetic value, it is of religious value now. So that is one. And not just that, in India, the people tree that is there, or the banyan tree that is there, people worship that, right? Why do they worship that? And that is why these trees have survived, and nobody tries, even if there is a people tree, which is it is Ficus religiosa, which is usually grown in temples and all that. If you find them anywhere also, you will think twice to cut that tree, right? Because it is of great aesthetic or religious value. So that is how these aesthetic values or ecosystem services, they inculcate aesthetic values in the people. So that is how these ecosystem services inculcate aesthetic value in the people. And next, talking about informational value. So informational value is also got, because ecosystem, we can learn a lot from the nature, right? So a lot can be learned from the nature. Just sitting inside the four walls of a classroom and listening to something theoretically has a great difference when you go out and learn in nature. So therefore it is of great information value as well. So these are the different ecosystem services that are rendered by nature, wherein it inculcates a lot of social value, aesthetic value, economic value, and many more in the society or in the human beings. So this was about this session. So with this session, this unit comes to an end. So we shall meet again in the coming sessions, taking up a new unit. Thank you.